The ethnic and linguistic background of Portuguese. A deep historical synthesis. The Portuguese language and people are the product of a complex tapestry of migrations, conquests, and cultural exchanges that have shaped the westernmost region of the Iberian Peninsula over millennia. This synthesis explores the ethnic roots, linguistic evolution, and global spread of Portuguese, highlighting the enduring legacies of ancient peoples, the transformative impact of successive empires, and the language's role as a tool of power, identity, and connection across continents. 1. Ethnic background. The peoples of ancient Portugal. 1. Pre-Roman inhabitants, Lusitanians and Celts. The Lusitanians. The Lusitanians were an Indo-European-speaking people who inhabited central Portugal and parts of western Spain, notably Extremadura and Castilla y León, before the Roman conquest. Their language, Lusitanian, is classified as Indo-European, but is distinct from Celtic, though it shares some affinities. The Lusitanians were organized into a confederation of tribes, such as the Arabrigenses, Lancienses, and Paisuri, and their territory roughly corresponded to the later Roman province of Lusitania. The Celts of Iberia, Celtic tribes, collectively known as Hispano-Celts, were widespread across the north, west, and central highlands of the Iberian Peninsula. Notable groups included the Galaici, in modern Galicia and northern Portugal, the Celtici, in southern Portugal and western Extremadura, and the Celtiberians, in the central eastern Meseta. These groups spoke continental Celtic languages, Galician, Celtiberian, and left a profound mark on the region's culture, religion, and place names. Geographical distribution: Lusitanians, central Portugal and western Spain, between the Douro and Tagus rivers. Galaici, northwest Iberia, Galicia, and northern Portugal. Celtici, southern Portugal, Alentejo, Algarve. Celtiberians, central and eastern Spain, 1.2 Romanization and the Latin layer. The Roman conquest, 2nd century BC onward, brought profound changes. The region was integrated into the Roman Empire, and Latin became the dominant language of administration, law, and culture. The process of Romanization was gradual, with local elites adopting Roman customs and language, while rural areas retained pre-Roman traditions for centuries. 1.3 Germanic and Arab Muslim influences. Germanic tribes. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, Germanic tribes, such as the Suebi and Visigoths, settled in the Iberian Peninsula. The Visigoths established a kingdom that included most of modern Portugal. Their influence is evident in some martial and administrative vocabulary, as well as in the aristocratic and legal traditions of the region. Arab Muslim, Moorish rule. From the early 8th century, Arab and Berber Muslims, Moors, conquered much of the Iberian Peninsula, including Portugal. Their rule lasted several centuries, especially in the south. The Moors introduced new crops, irrigation techniques, architectural styles, and a wealth of vocabulary related to agriculture, science, and daily life, e.g., achud, dam, alface, lettuce, algebra. 1.4 The formation of the Portuguese people. The modern Portuguese people are thus the descendants of a blend of ancient Lusitanians, Celts, Romans, Germanic tribes, and Moors. This rich ethnic mosaic is reflected in the country's genetic makeup, cultural traditions, and, crucially, its language. 2. Linguistic origins. From Vulgar Latin to Portuguese. 2.1 The Latin foundation. Portuguese is a Romance language, directly descended from Vulgar Latin, the colloquial Latin spoken by Roman soldiers, settlers, and administrators. As the Roman Empire fragmented, Vulgar Latin evolved regionally, giving rise to the various Romance languages of Europe. 2.2 The Galician Portuguese phase. In the early Middle Ages, the northwest of the Iberian Peninsula, modern Galicia and northern Portugal, was home to a dialect continuum known as Galician Portuguese. This language emerged as a distinct variant of Romance, shaped by the substratum of Celtic and Lusitanian languages, as well as by contact with Germanic and Arabic speakers. Galician Portuguese became the language of poetry, administration, and daily life in the medieval Kingdom of Galicia and the County of Portugal. By the 13th-14th centuries, it had developed a rich literary tradition, especially in lyric poetry, 2.3 Distinctiveness and standardization. By the 9th-10th centuries, Portuguese began to diverge from other Romance languages, solidifying its distinctiveness through literary, administrative, and ecclesiastical use. The formation of the Kingdom of Portugal in the 12th century further promoted the development of a national language. 3.3 Arabic influence. The Arab-Muslim presence in the Iberian Peninsula left a deep imprint on Portuguese, especially in vocabulary related to agriculture, science, architecture, and daily life. Many place names in southern Portugal also have Arabic origins. 3.4 Other influences: Hebrew and Jewish. The Jewish communities of medieval Portugal contributed some religious and commercial terms. African and Indigenous American. With the expansion of the Portuguese Empire, words from African and Amerindian languages entered Portuguese, especially in Brazil, e.g., tapioca, mandioca, cachaça. 4. The global spread and evolution of Portuguese. 4.1 The age of exploration and colonization. From the 15th century onward, Portuguese explorers established a global maritime empire, with colonies and trading posts in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. The Portuguese language became a tool of administration, religion, and commerce, spreading far beyond Europe. Administrative tool Portuguese was imposed as the language of government, law, and education in the colonies, often at the expense of indigenous languages. This facilitated centralized control and standardized legal and bureaucratic processes. Religious tool. The Catholic Church used Portuguese for missionary work, religious instruction, and church services, making it synonymous with religious authority and cultural assimilation. Commercial tool Portuguese became the lingua franca of trade in many colonial ports, used in contracts, negotiations, and record-keeping. Its spread facilitated the integration of colonial economies into global trade networks. 4.2 Impact on indigenous populations. The imposition of Portuguese often led to the marginalization and endangerment of indigenous languages. In Brazil, for example, more than 160 indigenous languages survive, but many are endangered due to the dominance of Portuguese. In Africa and Asia, Portuguese was often the language of the elite, with Creoles and local languages developing in response to colonial linguistic policies. 4.3 The development of Creoles and Pidgins. In many colonial contexts, contact between Portuguese speakers and local populations led to the emergence of Portuguese-based Creoles and Pidgins. These languages blend Portuguese vocabulary with local grammatical structures and are still spoken in places like Cape Verde, Crioulo, Guinea-Bissau, Creole, São Tomé and Príncipe, Foro, Angular, and parts of India, Sri Lanka, and Malaysia, Kristang, Indo-Portuguese. 4.4 Regional evolution of Portuguese Brazil. Brazilian Portuguese developed unique phonological, grammatical, and lexical features due to intense contact with indigenous and African languages. It is characterized by more open, nasal vowels, musical intonation, and a rich vocabulary from Tupi and Bantu languages. The use of você, as the informal second-person pronoun, and the gerund for ongoing actions are notable grammatical differences from European Portuguese Africa. In Africa, Portuguese often remained a language of administration and the elite, but Creoles developed as lingua francas. After independence, Portuguese became the official language in countries like Angola, Mozambique, and Cape Verde, but local languages and Creoles remain widely spoken. In Asia, Portuguese influence persists in places like Goa, Macau, and East Timor, where the language has been shaped by contact with local languages and cultures. Portuguese-based Creoles also developed in India, Sri Lanka, and Malaysia. 5. The modern Lusophone world today, Portuguese is the official language of Portugal, Brazil, Mozambique, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, East Timor, Equatorial Guinea, Cape Verde, and São Tomé and Príncipe. It is spoken by over 250 million people worldwide, making it one of the most widely spoken languages on the planet. The legacy of Portuguese colonization is visible in the linguistic hybridity of the Lusophone world, where Portuguese coexists with Creoles, indigenous languages, and other colonial languages. The language continues to evolve, reflecting the dynamic histories and identities of its speakers. 6. Conclusion: a living tapestry. The ethnic and linguistic background of Portuguese is a living testament to the Iberian Peninsula's rich and turbulent history. From the ancient Lusitanians and Celts to the Romans, Visigoths, Moors, and the global reach of the Portuguese Empire, each layer has left its mark on the people and their language. Portuguese is not just a means of communication, but a vessel of memory, identity, and connection, linking continents, cultures, and centuries in a shared linguistic heritage.